the front of your bulletins. You all have your bulletin? Do you have a bulletin, Joanne? Can somebody make sure? There are plenty of them there. On the front of the bulletin, Deb, do you have a bulletin? Okay. We have a picture that I brought back to you all from Australia. This is Judy Robinson. She's a Swedenborgian. And can you see what she's holding up? There's one on the back. This was created by the two churches in Kansas. Montezuma might have helped. It was probably Prairie and Pawnee Rock. And what we did is we just asked for volunteers to take a month and to write their favorite Swedenborgian quote and then a Bible verse to go with it. I worked on my computer and put it all together and took it to Office Max and copied. And I don't remember how many we made, Linda.
What's that?
How many of these we made of it initially?
Oh, 500.
Wow.
And are there any left?
They are, but they're not.
They got a little water damaged, I think.
Fly specks and
But I was so amazed. So this was in 1996 that we did this. And it says, if you look in there, it's a no copyright. We hope everyone will use them that finds this. It's a Swedenborgian quote and a biblical message for every day, a perpetual calendar. And I was shocked to find these in Australia. She and her family use this every day for their morning devotions. And as I looked around, I found other places that had this in there that they use routinely. And so I put it on Facebook, and I've gotten several requests for people that would like to have another one. So we may need to look at reproducing this. And it's not perfect. Some of the quotes, I didn't check people's references, and we're not a big one for knowing exactly where something comes from within Swedenborg's writings, but it has brought inspiration to a lot of people. So I was just thinking more and more about words. And personally, I have felt a bit overwhelmed by words. Some are thrown around one way, then another way. Sometimes the same words are used to justify a wrongdoing or to open up and say, no, this is wrong. The same words. And it's just hard, like we were talking this morning, how to work through what is true and what is not true. Because it's not necessarily just the words. It's also the intent behind the words and the way that they're spoken. So we're going to look a little bit at what the Bible says about words, what some others have said about words, what Swedenborg says, and just our own thinking about how to move forward in a productive way with being bombarded with all these words. And this really, one of the things that started my thinking even more is this book of poems by Mary Oliver. She died recently, I think it was in 2019, but she has written such amazing, amazing things. And she takes just common words and is able to put them together so you just go, oh, I hadn't thought about it that way. And I've been using this for my morning devotion. You can see these are marked all the ones that I really liked. I could have them almost all marked. But a week ago on Saturday, I was reading in here, and she talks about just being out in nature and opening up to the beauty that is there. So I thought, I'm going to go find a place where I can just lay down under a tree and look up at the stars. Well, I forgot that I live in Wichita. And I drove around, and just like everywhere, I thought, if I lay down under a tree here, somebody's going to run up to me and try to help me up or call 911. So I gave up on that. But this morning on the way here, I did go out to Cheney Lake and just enjoy the beauty out there. I saw 2 eagles flying over. And sometimes we just have to take that extra effort to reach out and find the beauty. But she says, and I wanted to just share a few things that she says in this book. She writes, all beautiful things inherently have this function, to excite the viewers towards sublime thought. Everything in nature, everything, the beauty within our little church here, it all gives us the opportunity to elevate ourselves up and receive the beauty and the joy. She also said, consider always, every day, the determination of the grass to grow despite unending obstacles. And how many times have you seen that little twig of grass trying to grow in the sidewalk? You know, and to me this is just thinking about that. Grass's ability to continue to grow gives me strength when I think things are overwhelming and what can I do about it. And one more thing she says is, let me keep my distance always from those who think they have all the answers. Let me keep company always with those who say, look, and laugh in astonishment and bow their heads in reverence. So some days her words are just like a cozy blanket that comforting my hazy and crazy thoughts. And in her poem about poems, just a couple of things I wanted to share with you. This is called Flare. Welcome to the silly, comforting poem. It's not the sunrise, which is a red rinse which is flaring over the eastern sky. It's not the rain falling out of the purse of God. It's not the blue helmet of the sky overhead, or the trees, or the beetle burrowing into the earth. It's not the mockingbird who, in his own cadence, will go on sizzling and clapping from the branches of the catalpa that are thick with blossoms, that are billowing and shining, and that are shaking in the wind. The poem is not the world. It isn't even the first page of the world. But the poem wants to flower like a flower. It knows that much. It wants to open itself like the door of a little temple so that you might step inside and be cooled and refreshed, and less yourself and more a part of everything. When loneliness comes stalking, go into the fields. Consider the orderliness of the world. Notice something you have never noticed before. A lifetime isn't long enough for the beauty of this world and the responsibilities of your life. Scatter your flowers over the graves and walk away. Be good-natured and untidy in your exuberance. In the glare of your mind, be modest and beholden to what is tactile and thrilling. Live with the beetle. Live with the wind. This is the dark bread of the poem. This is the dark and nourishing bread of the poem. So how these beautiful, gentle words can touch us. And then how words can bring us down. They can be our greatest tool for good and for bad. Words bring us together and they push us apart. They can lift us up and drag us down. And I think we have to be very careful to the words we let into our minds, because they can then affect the words that come out of our minds. We read in what Jesus said, what people say with their mouths comes with what fills their hearts. Those who are good have good things saved in their hearts. That's why they say good things. But those who are evil have hearts full of evil, and that's why they say things that are evil. And Swedenborg echoes Jesus' words when he explained that words are the same as verbal acts, and they reflect that character just as faithfully and completely as the deed that the hand performs. Sometimes we think our words are separate from us, but this is showing us, for those that we listen to and others, how much those words are part of who we are and what we love. and what a difference it makes in how the words are said. The same words can mean totally different things by the way they are said. And even the words that I have chosen to share with you today, the poetry, it depends on each one of you and where you are in your life, how your morning went, what you're thinking about this next week you have to do, what joys you carried into this church and what burdens you carried into this church, all affect how you receive it and what you will take from it. The words in the Bible, this is the other thing we talked about this morning, are the perfect example of the difficulty of the written word. I looked and I found over 50 translations, just in English, translations or illustrations, or that you can look up. There's a site where you can look up the same Bible verse in all these different translations. And there was one that was written just for people that a 6th grade level of reading. There was one that was written with only 1,000 most common words. There is a Bible for Catholics. There's a Bible for men. There's a Bible for women. There's a Bible for teens. And there is a Bible for Swedenborgians also. And then there's how each one of us personally can understand the word and how we interpret it. Again, as we talked about this morning. Sometimes words just have a life of their own, and they can enliven us or they can just deaden us. We can't talk about words without talking about the 8th commandment. Do you remember the 8th commandment? The 8th commandment from Exodus, thou shalt not bear false witness. And in the easy-to-read Bible, it says, you must not tell lies about other people. Thou shalt not bear false witness. Just don't tell lies about other people. And it sounds like fairly straightforward advice, you know. Tell the truth. And Swedenborg takes it a bit different, because he also said, when we love truthfulness and justice, our voice becomes the voice of truthfulness, and our endeavors become the words of justice. And we know people like that, and we know that's what we strive in our own hearts. We want to be truthful, and we want to seek justice. But there's more. He says, this commandment not to bear false witness includes plots, deceptions, and evil intent against anyone for a variety of motives, such as hostility, hatred, desire for revenge, envy, rivalry, and so on. These evils have false witness hidden within them. So that desire to put someone down or to get even is the same as bearing false witness, because the false witness is implicated within it. And it really doesn't do the damage to the one that we're trying to put down. It damages us. The damage, the anger that we hold, the hatred, just wanting to put somebody down for the things they say, it affects us. And it's really hard to draw that boundary, to try to separate what we hear from what we say. And then we got to that Gospel of Matthew, where Jesus said, what people say with their mouths comes from what fills their hearts. And I tell you that everyone will have to answer for all the careless things that they have said. What do we do with that? I think what we do, and we talked about this morning, we're not to live with a guilt or feeling that we are being condemned by the Lord, because the Lord is all love. And the condemnation really is what falls upon us. I know I shouldn't use words that can hurt someone else. And just bringing this to our attention and thinking about this helps us in that process of regeneration. Where we repent, we're sorry for what we did, then we learn from it, and then we try not to do it again. So the judgment is almost immediate for us when we say those things, and then we can pull back and go, I did it again, but I'm going to do my best not to continue to do that. And we've heard the saying, and this is one that it comes across on Facebook and different platforms. Before you speak, ask. Do y'all know what you're supposed to ask? Is it kind?
Is it true?
Is it true?
Is it useful?
And is it useful or is it necessary? Yeah. Is it kind? Is it true? And is it really necessary? And when we think about this, it's often we think about the harm we're doing to others. But again, it's that harm we're doing to ourselves and who we're creating and who we are. On the back of your bulletins, I always like to try to find something hopeful or useful for you so you don't leave your bulletins in the pews. You actually take them with you. I found this online because not only those words that we say do we say about other people, but we also can be pretty hard on ourselves. And so those words that create our attitude that we need to be positive within ourselves and say good things to ourselves also. And this was the advice from WebMD, and then I just added a little bit to the back of it in italics, so that's not what WebMD said. So first, today's going to be a great day, and we all know the value of waking up and trying to have a positive attitude. And I added to that, well, at least it's going to be a good day. So if you can't make it all the way to it's going to be a great day, just try not to, this is going to be a bad day. This is going to be a hard day. It helps you to get through the day. It's been proven. Scientific evidence reports to this, that we just need to try to open up and look at what the good that may come through the day. The second thing, and this is one I struggle with, I'm thankful for my life and the body that God has given me. Instead of concentrating on the parts that don't work like I'd like them to, or the extra pounds that are there that I wish were not there, my hands work, my elbows, my shoulders pretty good, you know. What are the things that are working? What are the positives that we can look at? 3 is I can make a difference to someone today. And again, it's not that big difference. Sometimes we want to go out and fix the whole world. But a smile to your waiter, treating them like the important person that they are, offering the door. Even in the car, I think sometimes I just wave at people. I don't even know them, but I think, oh, I've left them thinking, now who's that? I should probably know who that was. But just trying to spread some joy and some cheer in the world. The past, my past, does not define me, and neither do the words that I or others have said about me. And this, as I was reading different things, came up so many times that we can carry those words that hit us like a sword, can stay with us for so long. You can remember things that your parents said about you, or kids at school that weren't very nice, and there's just some way to say, that doesn't define me, I'm not going to carry those words anymore. That's not who I am. You know, when I went to visit Keith, the day before, he had been hallucinating from the medications that he was giving, and he would tell this story over and over again about being driven down a road with trees on both sides, and it wasn't the right way to go, and he knew it was wrong, and nobody would listen to him, and the lady that was with Janine, his daughter, is an ER nurse, and she said, stop that, Keith. You know that's not true. Because the more times we implant that in our minds, the stronger it gets. So she had been taught, which I thought was wonderful advice, when someone is saying, when they're hallucinating or they're talking about something that's not exactly the way it happened, try to intervene and reconfigure the way that they're thinking of things. instead of just, and our tendency is to just, oh yeah, you know, and listen to that hallucination over and over again, but then that makes it more real within the person. So within ourselves, look at how we evaluate things that happen, and with one another, to try to turn that to be positive. 6, things aren't always as they appear, and I put, and Facebook is a crock. If you, yes?
Number 5.
Oh, did I miss number 5? Okay, I'm sorry. Number 5, people do change, and it's not us to up. It's not up to us to change them. Yes. Why is that an important one? Is it one you deal with?
It's one my friend deals with,
Yeah,
wanting to fix things for other people.
wanting to fix things. How often that is, yeah. And people do change, but it's up to them. And so we just hope for the best in others and treat them the best way we can, yeah. And then the things aren't always as they appear. They talk about people tend to put the good things that happen in their lives on Facebook, and it makes you feel like, oh, they all have this perfect life. Every once in a while someone will be honest, but you just have to realize that everybody, as Philo of Alexander said, everyone you meet is fighting a battle. We just don't know what their battle is and what they're dealing with. I'm doing my best, and this I added on for this moment where I am right now, which is really all we can expect of ourselves and all we should judge. I'm doing the best I can right now. I'm doing the best I can with this message. I know when I drive home, I'll think of things I could have done better, but I'm doing the best I can right now. So we can carry that. Number 8, others don't define who I am, and neither do I. You define by your actions and your thoughts, but it's not always the words or the things that we think about ourselves that define us. We are. 9, I may not have all the information. That's to help us keep from jumping to conclusions when somebody has done something that we don't agree with or it seems harmful or wrong. We don't know the whole story. We don't know all that they're doing or going on with. And number 10, life goes on. Worry is a waste. There is a poem in here about worry. And I want to share and conclude with that, because I think these are healthy words, and I wanted to conclude with something upbeat. So this poem is called I Worried. I worried a lot. Will the garden grow? Will the rivers flow in the right direction? Will the earth turn as it was taught? And if not, how shall I correct it? Was I right? Was I wrong? Will I be forgiven? Can I do better? Will I ever be able to sing, even to the sparrows? Even the sparrows can do it, and I am, well, hopeless. And I think of Eric at this, who has always said when he gets to heaven, he hopes he can sing. But that hasn't stopped him from singing here and singing for us on Christmas Eve and singing with that joy in his heart. So she goes on, is my eyesight fading or am I just imagining it? Am I going to get rheumatism, lockjaw, dementia? Finally, I saw that worrying had come to nothing and gave it up. And I took my old body and I went out into the morning and sang. Amen.